Hey everybody, welcome to Grimsforge Gaming. Today we're going to be covering episode number 5 of Own Your Battleground. And today's topic is a topic actually that was brought up in our Discord. If you haven't already joined our Discord, we'll have a link in the descriptions below. And most of the time that link works. So if you're having a problem with the link working, just let me know. But jump into Discord. We got a lot of content creators and a lot of helpful people there that can answer questions for you for PvP, and then we also do coaching there as well. Today's topic was brought up by some individuals, and it seems like a pretty simple question, but it's got multiple layers to it. And the question is, when do I block? You know, common times to block in PvP. And so we're going to deep dive into this. I guess the long and short answer of it is you block burst, and you either heal or hot through basic damage. Okay, that's the long and the short answer of it. You block burst and you heal or hot through basic damage. Okay. However, if we were to just give that answer to someone that's new to PvP or someone that's struggling, it's a pretty basic answer, but it doesn't really deep dive into the ins and outs of blocking and why. Okay, so here it is. First, you need to look at the most common deaths that happen in PvP when you're blocking. And so what I commonly see is somebody's taking damage by multiple sources. If it's a 1v1, usually there should not be enough pressure. If your healing kit is adequate, there should be enough pressure. And as a whole, we're talking about low BBGs right now. If you're going to be perfecting or practicing these techniques, you need to be doing it in low BBGs, and we'll talk about why. Okay, but when you're in the process of learning PvP, this whole thing until the end is going to be in regards to low BBGs. Now, some of the clips that you're going to see are going to be above, and the clips are basically just showing what we're talking about in use. So keep your eyes peeled for the different things that we're talking about. But for the most part, you want to be practicing this stuff in low BBGs. Anyways, the most common deaths that we're running into is somebody's taking damage by a single source, or they're taking damage by multiple people. The enemy team in a battleground is balled up. All 4 of them are attacking you, and you're just standing there holding block, okay? Or you're moving, but you're not moving very fast, right? Because you don't have the passives, you don't have the CP for moving quickly while bracing or holding block. And so it's a long, painful death. And what's happening in that moment, if you're looking at it from a resource standpoint, your health is still taking damage because blocking doesn't mitigate 100% of the damage, right? And your stamina pool is running down very quickly, okay? So the end is near. I see this often. And so the common response when we say you're blocking too much, they're like, well, I'm being attacked. Yeah, you are being attacked, but there are many other things that you can do other than hold block during that time frame. So let's talk about those different things, okay? When to block and why. We talked about that, and you should be blocking burst and then healing or hotting through basic damage. And this could be in between line of sighting, okay? And so they'll say loss, LOS, or line of sight. And that's just simply running around things or running around back and forth around corners, okay? Now, here's the problem that line of sighting causes. Line of sight, if there's 4 people chasing you, at any given time, all 4 of them can't continually keep attacking you. Line of sighting is very important in game too when we start introducing proc sets that have channeled effects and things like that. We'll get to that. But line of sighting should be practiced at low level BGs, and what happens is maybe only 1 out of the 4 people maintain line of sight with you and can continue to damage you, giving you a little reprieve or a little breather on the total damage burst that they can, or total damage that they can generate. Also, line of sighting prevents sight issues in that we'll see Dawnbreakers miss standing in open field. Like, what the heck? now you add a line of sight and Dawnbreakers, and most common ultimates have a even harder time of landing. So line of sighting is extremely valuable. But when to block and why, you want to hold block if you see the ultimate coming, if you know it's about time. Now, you're not going to just stand there and hold block, because if you just stand there and hold block, they'll know not to use it, right? So you kind of have to, it'll come through this feeling of when to block and when not to block, and that only comes through experience of playing in Battlegrounds. And I know that's not an easy answer. They're like, oh, so I'm just supposed to magically feel when I'm supposed to block, and the answer is yeah. However, it's not magic. It's this mathematic, you understand that their most dangerous time points are going to be about every 20 seconds when their ultimate is available, and usually that comes right after a CC, and so they'll CC you or crowd control you, stun you, and then try and land their ultimate on you. So if you just got done getting CC'd and you broke free, that's usually a good time to block before you play your next card. And so there are times where blocking is not the answer, even in an outnumbered situation, and channeling heavy attacks is the answer as a stamina character. Now, as a Magicka character, heavy attacks with a staff will return Magicka. They don't return stamina, and this is kind of a problem. So you have to play Magicka classes different than you play stamina classes in regards to resource management in those outnumbered situations where you're being pressured, right? Stamina classes can pull off a heavy attack through the basic damage window, right? Ultimate has gone out. I broke free of CC. I'm on CC cooldown or CC immunity. I have CC immunity. I can channel some heavy attacks as long as my hots or heals are coming in. That's why I like hots better than burst heals. Burst heals usually come at a high cost, whereas a hot like a vigor or resolving vigor, you can hit it and it's a really good strong amount of healing coming in, but it's spread over an amount of time. Hots are less effective against burst, right? So if somebody has great burst, they'll actually make leeway, or they'll take a chunk of your health out, whereas a burst heal, they'll take the chunk out and then you immediately put the health right back in, right? And so understanding how the different healing aspects of your kit work is very important. So block when they ball up on you and you initially first engage a group. Usually what will happen if, say, I'm running around the sewers and a group jumps on me, I'm going to hit my spell wall immediately, because that's going to mitigate their ult dump, because most of the time those groups, those hunter groups that are going around and player killing, they've got their ult saved up. They don't need their ultimate to kill mobs. They're looking for characters or players, right? And so you'll hit your spell wall and immediately engage them. Hopefully they miss the fact that spell wall is going, and it will block or mitigate a lot of their ultimate. And then if they're newer to PvP, I run into this a lot. They don't realize your spell wall was up. They don't understand why you took virtually no damage from 2 or 3 ultimates. And another great ultimate would be why can't I think of it, from the DK, corrosive armor. Thank you. magma armor also. Geez. So corrosive armor and magma armor are a great ultimate as well, and you put that up and you can just take an immense amount of damage. Corrosive armor and magma armor limit the incoming damage to 3%. It's important to know how that blocking mitigation from magma and corrosive armor works too. It lowers all incoming damage to 3%. In that moment, you can still be killed very easily by dot builds, or just a bunch of people running a bunch of dot cheese, okay? And you'll normally run into that end game. So if you've got 4 or 5 people running the Vatashran staff, and they all just latch that onto you, and they got Zons, they'll just chainsaw right through your life, even with corrosive and magma armor up. The same with spell wall. Okay, it's mitigating the damage for free with the block, but you're still going to take damage, and it's just an immense amount of pressure. So important to know. But those two ultimates are great ultimates to engage people when they first jump on you, because that's when you're at your most vulnerable, right off the jump of the fight. If somebody jumps on you, they might jump on you and then ult dump you right at the beginning to try and just burst you down. Momentum is a very finicky thing in PvP, and so that's what they're hoping, is to gain the momentum in the fight. When to dodge roll. Okay, what I like to do is my dodge roll, if I'm being outnumbered and it's a 1v2 or 1v3 or 1v4, whatever it is, and there's way more of them than there is of me, I will use dodge rolls to A, mitigate damage or completely evade the damage altogether, and B, close distance to my next line of sight. There's no reason that I should not be dodge rolling unless it's a resource or stamina issue. There's no reason I should not be dodge rolling from where they engage me at to the next line of sight. And so that's what you're always doing in a PvP atmosphere. You need to be training your mind. This is part of the situational awareness of PvP that only comes through time. But you should always know where your next possible line of sight is at, and what's the play when you get to the line of sight. And then once you get to the line of sight, the play is evaluating your resources to decide if you need to turn around and go right back into them, channeling a heavy attack as a stamina character. Or if you're a magicka character and you got plenty of stamina, but your magic is really low. You know, do I need to channel some heavy attacks, or do I need to start block casting? And so as a magicka character, when you're blocking, it consumes stamina, and you know, if you're running an Inferno or Resto staff. So if you're holding block, it's going to burn your stamina, and most of the time your stamina is fairly full. Not as full as a stamina character, right? You don't have as much stamina usually as a stamina character, so you need to be kind of aware of that. Also, you should have in your mind kind of a threshold of when you're not going to block on a magicka character. And if I've got 5k stamina, I'm not going to be blocking at all, because if I take one bad crowd controller stun or CC, I won't be able to break free, and they're going to kill me. And the majority of the PvP scenarios where I'm training PvPers that are magicka classes, whether it be a magicka necro or a sorcerer, the reason they are dying is because they're running max magicka builds and they only have like 10 or 12k stam. And while their magicka pool is awesome and super powerful, they only have one dodge roll, one break free in them, and they normally don't have enough stamina recovery to get to replenish that stamina before the next CC is on them, and that's where they get killed. And so I run into this pretty regularly, though, where the magicka classes are, when we go and we watch their battlegrounds, and most of their deaths are coming from getting CC'd, and we'll look at their magicka pool and they still got 23k max mag, you know, because they've got 40 or 50k max mag, but that extra max mag wasn't helping them whatsoever. They don't have enough stamina coming in, and their max stam pool isn't enough to handle basic combat, you know, fighting outnumbered. I can break free one time and then I'm in trouble. If I have to break free again, or two times if I have to break free, then I'm going to be stunned. I'm going to be stam checked and killed. So when to dodge roll. I use dodge rolling, like I said, to mitigate damage as it's coming in. I also use dodge rolling to disengage from groups, and I'm sure I'll try and get the footage up of Icy and I. We were with one or two other people in Imperial City, and I was on Kratos. And some timely dodge rolls, if you disengage from a large ball group with some timely dodge rolls, you will see a ton of missed attacks. Dodge will come up multiple times to the left of your character. That's a lot of damage that's missing you, okay? And it's a lot less damage that you have to heal through or offset with HOTS and things like that. So timely dodge rolls will save you pressure and help your resources and keep you in the fight longer, okay? How dodge rolling works for stamina versus magicka. What I like to do is, if I'm going to be pulling off a dodge roll on a stamina class, I know that I can channel a medium or heavy attack into the dodge roll. And if you're at max stam, the medium or heavy attack, there's no point in medium or heavy attacking before the dodge roll, because the medium or heavy attack will land and put stamina in the tank. But if you're already at full, it's not doing you any good, so you might as well just go straight to the dodge roll, right? But if you're really low in stamina and you want to offset the dodge roll that's getting ready to come up, then pull off a medium or heavy attack. It'll put some stamina in the tank, and then you'll deplete the stamina on the dodge roll, and that's a nice trade. Okay, so find a way to channel some medium and heavy attacks on a stamina class. Now on a magicka class, it works a little different for the dodge roll, because you're going to burn stamina, and like we said, stamina is probably not your dominant pool, right? You're going to have 12k stamina or 15k stamina, and if you're missing some stamina, then that could be a problem. So you have to play magicka classes very smart, and most of the magicka classes that I kill, if I can't kill them outright, then I try and stam check them, because a lot of people can stand and fight, or a lot of people can run, but not a lot of people are good at balancing their resources, and so that's a thing. So channeling heavy attacks on a magicka class will just, if you've got a resto or flame staff, is just going to put magicka back in the tank. And so now another time that's important to dodge roll would be if you just hit a vigor, and a good timely dodge roll might get 1 or 2 ticks of that vigor in, or that hot, and you'll have some healing coming in. Or that's on the stamina side. So on the stamina side, you would dodge roll and get an extra tick of vigor or 2 extra health in. Okay, so that's a good timely dodge roll to help with your healing situation. You're taking a lot of pressure. Or you can cleanse dodge roll, or you can cleanse vigor dodge roll. So get the bad stuff off of you because you're getting dotted down or cheesed down, and you need to cleanse that stuff off of you and then go. Now for the classes that don't have a cleanse, you're just basically dodge rolling and hoping that your healing kit is going to be enough to offset or even gain ground on the HOTS or dots that are on you, right? But as a magicka class, my stamina pool is limited. Some stamina classes have great healing kits, and so now I could dodge roll on a mag crow, and if I don't have my tether up, braided tether or whatever tether, or I don't have my spirit mender up, and I'm only using my burst heal, I can block, take damage, dodge roll, miss damage, still be missing health and not have a hot going, and then have to burst heal after that, which is a big expense. And so understanding the value of dodge rolling, right? So at this point, we've already talked that blocking, we only want to try and block burst, but most of the time we're just channeling heavy attacks, or we're worried about our next line of sight and where we need to be and when we need to be there. Okay, we don't want to get bogged down in a fight, fighting outnumber, standing toe-to-toe with people, unless we're that type of build, right? If we're that type of build where we can just frank the tank, stand in front of people, that's fine. Our healing kit and our damage mitigation together are stronger than the offense that these people are able to mount. And we see that often. If I have some Mr. T footage on Lobies, and that was the case where just my basic healing kit and damage mitigation I had was enough to offset the damage that anyone was able to muster, and it allowed me to just stay offensive most of the time. And all I had to do was make sure that I had my defensive buff up and vigor up, and then the rest of the time I was managing my resources to continue to kill people. So Now, let's talk about creating space. Okay, so speed is king in PvP, and especially towards CP. Once you get to CP and you're going to be doing this CP and above battlegrounds, or not CP battlegrounds, but you're above CP at this point, speed is going to be king. A lot of people, once you hit CP and above, will be using Ring of the Wild Hunt, or will have some form of speed, whether it be major expedition through dodge roll or major and minor expedition. They are a stam sork, maybe they have streak. Speed is king for many reasons, because you're able to create space. One of the best things about speed is maybe I don't even have to block. Okay, I'm in an outnumbered situation where 3 or 4 people jump on me and I'm just faster than them. So in the process of CCing one of them and dodge rolling through them to avoid damage, or holding block, they burst on me and my hots are healing me, and then I line of sight, and then I just simply pull away from them. They didn't hit me with any type of immobilization or snare, so I'm not slowed or rooted, or I was immobilized and then I cleansed it, and now I'm able to move freely because I have CC immunity, whatever, because I have CC immunity from the stun. I pull away from them. I have superior speed from them. Now, one of the things that's great about pulling away from a group, and I'd like to call it advancing in the opposite direction, I'm not actually running from these people. I'm stretching them out. Out of that group of 4, the likelihood that 1 or 2 of them have higher mobility than the others is pretty high. And so if I can run a certain amount of distance away and then turn around and assess the situation, well, now I've got all 4 of them strung out. You know, they're all separated, and it gave me a brief window where I can fight each one of them 1v1, or I can fight each one of them 1v2. You know, I'll fight the first 2 fast ones, and I'll kill one of the fast ones and then kill the second fast one, and then maybe I line of sight or stretch out to give myself a little reprieve, and then I'm going to fight the next 2 if they're really trying to track me down and fight me. And so this happens regularly. In that moment, blocking isn't the answer, right? Just create space and create that opportunity to fight, right? So speed is king. Also, if I just wanted to straight get away from them, I could, you know, just pull away, line of sight, and just, you know, I don't want any part of that. Maybe they're running something super cheesy and you're just like, I'm good. I'm not trying to fight some Zaan's Vatishran staff mag DK running Oblivion's foe. I'm not trying to fight that, you know, like the guy's all cracked out on everything possible. And so you do you, man, but I'm going over here. So speed is king. Another thing about creating space is you can gap close out of it. And I, for the most part, almost always run a gap closer. And gap closer, I think when you say that, you know, people immediately think, well, it's really only used for me to get to you, right? I'm using this to get from point A to point B. I want to get to where I'm at right now, right up to you. And if you look at gap closers like that, then you're only looking at them in kind of the offensive perspective, right? Just get on a target. I use gap closers to peel away from targets. And so if we look at the same scenario where 4 people are on me and I'm bogged down with trying to hold heavy attack through their burst and cleanse their stuff and channel a heavy and fight through it, look for my next line of sight, dodge roll to my next line of sight, and I just simply cannot create space from this group, I'll constantly look for somebody that's coming up on the fight. Okay, now if it's a teammate, there's a different play, and we'll talk about that. But if purple team is on me trying to bog me down and I'm playing this line of sight game, just trying to drag this out, look for a window of opportunity for me to either separate or kill one of them, because what will happen a lot of times too is it's kind of like a feeding frenzy. When 4 of those people are on you, they'll regularly lapse in reapplying their hots or their heals, right? They feel safe with numbers, okay? And this is kind of the Zergling mentality too, is you feel safe with your numbers. You're you'll let things slip because you want to seal this kill. You want to get this kill done, right? Finish them. And so we're just trying to stretch it out, make a resource fight in some cases, and see what comes up, what opportunities come up. Now, if green team comes rolling up to that scenario, they're coming at us, I have multiple plays that I can make as green team's coming up to us. You know, one play is I gapped close to green team, right? The first person from green team, if all 4 purples are on me, my team's nowhere to be found. Say I'm red team. All 4 purples are on me. Green team's coming up in numbers. I'll gap close to green team, dodge roll through green team, and get behind green team. Okay, which brings us to another point down the road, but that's standing in the right spot or creating opportunities, creating windows of opportunity. Okay. And so in a fight, you always want to move to your attacker's back, especially after a CC, move to their back. And a lot of classes get bonuses or pluses to attacking, you know, people on their backside. But moving to their back, if 2 people are fighting you and you stun one of them and move to their back, you know, well, now only the one person is actually still fighting you. The other one's stunned on the ground facing the opposite direction, and that's great. And that's a common thing called keeping the fight in front of you. Now, why I would have gap closed to the green team and dodge rolled through them to get to the backside is it puts green team in kind of a predicament. Green team has to decide if they want to kill me, they're going to have to turn their back to purple team, and purple team's chasing me hard, right? That's what was happening when they rolled up, and that would be really silly of green team. Purple team's going to come through and just completely wipe green team, and while that's happening, I'm going to peel or create space and just get the hell out of dodge. And so, or I'm going to start helping whichever team has the highest numbers. And so, say that scenario happens where I gap close to the green, I dodge roll through the green, and green turns around to kill me, and purple comes up and kills 2 out of the 4 green team very quickly. I'm not going to attack the 2 green that are left. I'm going to start attacking the purple, okay? And besides, I got a grudge against purple anyways. Those guys are trying to zerg me down. What the heck? So, but the reason I'm doing that is because if I help them kill green, then we're right back in the same scenario I was before, right? It's 1v4. It's still me against all purple. But if I can take 1 or 2 of the purple out and then play the rest by ear, so now it's a 1v2 v2. Okay, now what I'm hoping for is that both green and purple don't turn on me, and so what's going to happen is being smart with my positioning on it. They're going to be damaging each other, right? Because they're not all on the same team. There's no friendly fire type. They're not being saved by friendly fire scenario in Battlegrounds, right? So they're spamming their abilities, trying to kill me and inadvertently damaging each other. Okay, so just some smart moves will continue my efforts and still help me kill them. They're killing themselves, and so we just play that scenario out. Meanwhile, situational awareness is still looking around to the next line of sight to figure out where I need to go to get out of there, right? If I don't like the way things are going. And so we'll play that scenario down to the last man, then we'll kill the last man, and then we'll take a long deep breath and make sure that we recorded it. Right? So it makes it onto a video somewhere in the library. Anyways, that's the play. So gap closing out of trouble is the play, and a lot of people can't find the room for a gap closer. That's why I really love the sword and board gap closer shielded assault on my back bar, because A, it's a gap closer, and B, it's a stun, and so it gives you access to both things that you need. And nothing is worse than making progress on somebody. I'm sure this has happened to everyone. The second you get this person low, or that you get them within execute range, they just streak away, or they just run. And if you're short on speed, they pull away from you, and it just pisses you off. It makes you so mad. And then a little bit later, the guy comes rolling up on you again and tries to burst on you, and you turn into him, you put damage into him, same thing happens, he's about to die, and then he just runs off. And you're like, you little jerk, you know? If I only had a gap closer with a stun, or if I only had some level of speed, you wouldn't be doing this. Like, go pick on somebody else, or go mess with someone else. I'm not the guy. So that's a scenario that happens often. So creating space, though, can be done through speed, or it can be done through gap closers and just moving away. Another way to create space would, like we said, streak, or if you're a Nightblade, using your shade. You can set your shade down and then create space that way, and it's one of the best disengages. And I actually prefer shade over fear. Fear is if you're standing in and you're fighting and you think that you want to burst people down or finish people, but I don't use fear to try and get away, because as soon as they break free, I haven't created much space at all. I'm still within melee range of them, and they can still get me, whereas I find that I can create a lot more space with shade than I can fear. But another thing to create space is just simple immobilizations, so rooting or snaring, right? And so like low slash, or you've hit somebody with a D-swing a couple times and they have that 40% debuff on them, or biting jabs has that slow or snare to it. And sometimes you just need to put down a snare or an immobilization, or you drop caltrops on the ground. I can tell you right now that caltrops is going to be a great option for Blackwood, because they've gave caltrops a buff, and it applies a slow or immobilization to it. And so another thing too is you can strategically place caltrops in places that cause problems. So if we're in the sewers and we're fighting outnumbered, I can throw it in a doorway or a hallway as we're evading or running from a Zerg, and that whole Zerg for the most part will have to run through the caltrops unless they're using snow treaders or they're streaking through it or whatever. But then we've got the 1 or 2 people that made it through, and we like our chances against the 1 or 2 people that make it through. Meanwhile, everyone else is getting hung up. So we've created another situation where we've spread them out. Okay, and then the other thing about creating space is just a simple stun and go. Okay, and sometimes in the process of line of sighting and going back and forth around a corner, waiting for something else to happen or another option, maybe your next jump to your next line of sight's too far away, and simply your only option is to run around this rock or to run back and forth around this corner waiting for something, right? Green team comes rolling up, or your team comes and helps. And so in that scenario, sometimes if it's a 1v1, you would just stun them and then run around the corner and then just keep going, right? So say it's that I'm not picking on the Zon's Oblivion Foe dot build, you know, or Mag DK or whatever. Actually, I think I even put a build out on that, Blackbeard. Anyways, it's just super powerful, right? But in a 1v1 situation, I would stun that person and just simply try and get away from them. Now, if I'm on a class that has a cleanse or whatever else, I can stand and fight that. But if I don't have a cleanse in my kit and they just start stacking their dots, it's going to be trouble. So that's somebody. You have to have the situational awareness, and it only comes over time, but you have to have the situational awareness to stun them and just get out of there. Okay? Let's talk about peeling. Okay, now the scenario that we were talking about where I dodge roll through green team and I get behind green team and it pinches them or puts them in a tough position, that is also called peeling. What I did there was I peeled purple off of me using green team. You can also peel enemies off of you using your own team. Okay, so let's say we're in the battlegrounds that looks like the arena, the bowl, right? And it's got the upper rim, and then it's got the lower area, and usually for domination, the flag will appear right in the middle of the arena. A common thing is maybe my team, all three of my other teammates are down in the arena fighting, and I'm up on the bowl, which is a common thing for me. I'm out there cheesing, derping around, trying to look for fights and, test builds and see what ultimates do what, and what the build can handle and what it can't handle. So I'll be off on my own from time to time, not playing the objective, I know. So a common thing would be if I run into too much trouble, my team's down there fighting, maybe one or two people holding the point, and I'm up top derping around and I get too much heat on me, I'll drop down and run right through my team. Okay, most of the time, if I had both purple and green on me and I dropped down and ran through my team, at least half of those purple and half of those green are going to shave off or peel off of me onto my team. And peeling works both ways. If my team were standing down there looking the other way, they don't even see me coming, I could jump down, dodge roll through my team, or just run through my team, which would be kind of a dick move, by the way. You're blindsiding your team with two other teams, but ultra funny at the same time. But they're standing down there, they don't see it coming, and I peel purple and I peel green off of me using my team, right? And we had talked about this before in another video. Some people are like, my team's terrible, my team's trash, or whatever. Hey, your team is good for at least one thing, and that's a meat bag or a meat shield. All right, use them for that, to peel. Okay, and so if you're in a battleground that you're struggling and having a lot of taking a lot of pressure, then use your team, stand around your team and use them in that fashion. If you can't use the teams against themselves, if I can't use green team against purple or purple against green or both of them against each other, then use your team. And so there's that. Now my team's standing looking the other way, I run through them, half of purple and half of green peel off, and now I'm still in a 1v4, but it's the scenario that we talked about earlier. I just keep going, line of sight around the corner, and assess the situation. We still got 4 on us, but it's 2 purple, 2 green, and they're going to inadvertently be damaging one another, which is going to help me win this fight, okay? And so we created a window of opportunity for ourselves. And so sometimes peeling. Now that is the inadvertent peel, okay? My team unwillingly or unknowingly peeled for me, right? They were just standing there in their inventory or whatever, and I brought the party to them. And now, so that's the inadvertent peel. Now the advertent peel is, red team is looking up at me and they're watching me take all that pressure from the 2 other teams, and the second I hit the ground and I start moving towards them, they gap close in or they close in and they jump into the fight, right? You almost commonly see that in CP, once you hit CP, the battlegrounds there, where everyone's kind of seasoned, right? Or if they're in comms. If they're in comms with one another, they know that somebody needs to be peeled or they're taking some pressure, and they'll jump into the fight to help them out. And so there's the advertent peel or inadvertent peel, okay? And you can use the peel to create a pinch, which a pinch is the scenario that we were talking about where I dodge roll through the team and now I'm on the backside. Now, here is a pinch. In all these scenarios too, we're going to go back to this, I'm not having to block. It's not requiring me to stand and block and mitigate damage, okay? Keep that in mind. The overall scope of this video is about when to block and when not to block. But by doing or executing these other things, it puts you in a position where your block is not your only option, right? That's the scenario, that's the predicament that the newer PvPers are running into, as their offensive and defensive playbook is not developed enough to know that they can do these other things, and therefore block becomes the only option, right? Just stand and hold block until you die. But another option is my team is rolling up, my team and I are rolling up to a fight, and we're buffing up beforehand, hitting our hots beforehand preemptively. Sometimes where and when to hit a potion depends on your class and your play style. Maybe I hit a potion as I'm going into the fight, so I got all those increased recoveries, or I'm running potions that give me resistances or other things, but we're coming into a fight, and there are times where my 4-man squad's getting ready to clash with this other 4-man squad. The second we get there, I will gap close. The second we get to within range, I gap close to their group, dodge roll through, and get to the backside. And that same scenario that we talked about before, I just created again, and we're effectively causing a pinch. It puts them in a tough position. Do we attack the person that just gap close to us and jumped into the fight first? Yes, usually we do. But the second he goes behind us, do we turn to stand and fight the one guy while his 3 other teammates are behind us? And so one person, if they're skilled enough, if they know what they're doing, can create an effective pinch, and it puts an enemy team in trouble. Okay, so that's a scenario that you should be looking to do, and it's creating a pinch on a 1v1, and that scenario prevents you. Offense is the best defense, and that's kind of the sum of a lot of your extra answers in this. Is offense is the best defense. I don't have to block if I'm attacking. I don't have to block if I'm CCing. I don't have to block if I'm immobilizing. And so these are all avenues in your playbook you should be looking at. So standing in the right place at the right time too also comes down to situational awareness, which we talked about before. But a thing I talked about in another video is situational awareness. If my team is red team and we are running up and we kill purple team, while we're fighting purple team, we see green team coming up behind purple. Okay, if purple's respawn is behind us, we need to move through green team or step off to the side. Okay, we don't want to just continue to stand where we're at. Green team came up behind purple team and helped us kill purple team, but we know that purple team's going to spawn behind us and they're going to run right back into the fight. If we stand where we're at and it's taking us a considerable amount of time to kill green team, purple team's going to do the exact same to us. They're going to pinch us. Okay, now if we're very offensive and we don't lack killing potential, maybe we kill green team in time before purple gets there. Another thing about situational awareness is this: maybe all of purple doesn't respawn at the same time. Maybe half of them run off another direction because they're demoralized or they don't know anything. They're just, doing my job, gonna go capture, gonna go capture these waypoints or whatever, and the other 2 are looking for a fight. But situational awareness for my team should be that we know purple is rolling up on us. How many is it? Okay, well, it's only 2 and we've only got 2 greens left, so let's work fast here and then turn and address purple. But understanding who's coming from where is very important. Another thing about situational awareness is knowing, one of the hardest parts is learning your own class, your own rotation, and how to answer the best play, right? How do I make a play here and not die? But then the other thing is learning what every other class is trying to do and how they're going to be at their most effective. And then you add a third component of trying to figure something out, and that's gear sets. Oh crap, this guy's got Zons, or oh crap, this guy is running whatever VAT staff, or so you have to worry about the players and their skill set. You have to worry about the class that they're playing on and the class's skill set, and then you have to worry about the gear that they're equipping. And so these are all things to take into account. And so we're peeling back all these layers of a very simple question: when do I block? And the answer is not so simple. It all comes down to managing resources, though. Okay, when you're fighting outnumbered, you have to manage your resources. The second your stamina gets too low, you're going to get stam checked and killed. And stam checked is basically you take a CC and there's not enough stamina in the tank to break free, and you're killed. Sorry. And then there's a lot of times where performance won't allow you to break free anyway, so what the hell. And that's the most frustrating thing. is 50% stamina, not being able to break free, or 100% stamina. So, managing your resources, though, and fighting outnumbered. If you want your best chance to survive, you're going to have to be very good at managing resources. Another thing about managing your resources is understanding your own personal healing kit. We talked about it a little bit before when I was talking about Mr. T, my Mr. T clips. I knew that Mr. T had a good healing kit, and he was tanky, so he was mitigating damage. And the combination of the two, a good healing kit with good damage mitigation, means that I can stand and fight. It all comes down to me just balancing my resources, not pushing too hard on the gas, and I do that often. I'll push really hard. Like if you've watched my videos or if you've ever commented on them, you're like, man, you virtually have no stamina all the time. Those are the videos that I'm pushing too hard on the gas, trying to kill people, or pushing too hard on the gas, trying to fight, and I'm pushing the build to its limits. Whatever armor sets or enchants or food, I'm pushing it to the limits of its capabilities to figure out where that threshold is, and how hard can we push down on this and still not die. Let's find out. And I think that's important for people to figure that out for each class and play style. But assessing your healing kit, sometimes it's a very simple answer on when to block and when not to block. If you're have an immense healing kit, you shouldn't be blocking. You can, if you're fighting 1v1, and I have some clips here of me on a lobby, I'm on Elsa, and I get jumped by, a Stamplar, and eventually the Stamplar goes werewolf, and, he's trying to burst me down, and so there's this CP, I'm on a level 30 or 40 Elsa, leveling some healing abilities, and so I'm just going to make sure that I keep my hots up and keep my heals going, and I'm probably not going to kill this person, but I'm going to make sure that basically I want to get to a point where they say, man, this isn't even like, why won't you just die? It's like, you're not getting my Telvar guy, but if your healing kit on whatever you're running is strong enough, then there shouldn't really be a reason to be blocking, right? Block every once in a while, maybe, but you shouldn't stand there and just hold block and try and be mitigating damage or block casting, okay? Now, if you're a Mag DK, a big component of Mag DKs, because they're melee class, they stand up in your face and they fight, is their entire offense is block cast capable. And block cast capable means I can hold block and still cast all of my attacks, and the attacks will go off without dropping block. And that playstyle is a very unique or very different playstyle than a lot of classes, because you're either doing one or the other. I'm either blocking or I'm attacking. And with Mag DKs, you can be doing both. So it makes for resource management, a tough resource management situation. It especially makes for a tough resource management situation when you look at the cost of Mag DK's offensive abilities. And so resource management is probably the key component to surviving outnumbered situations. And yeah, so let's tie this all together, and we kind of did a little bit, but why low BBGs are the best place to practice all this, and it's because the pressure is less in low BBGs because there are fewer proc sets, okay? And in low BBGs, it's usually craftable sets, or people will go out and they will get proc sets, but you're not going to get cheesed down by 4 people running the Vat Staff. You're not going to get hit by 4 people running Venomous Smite. You're not going to have a full team of werewolves wearing Crimson. You're not going to have all of the proc cheese in low BBGs, that extra damage, the free damage from armor sets. And so if you want to perfect or get better at surviving outnumbered situations, low BBGs is the better place to go, hands down. I can tell you this, I've leveled over 120 characters, and I do low BBGs with them on every single class, every single playstyle, from Bobo, Stamplars to you name it. If there is a way to play a class, I've done it. And I'll level these people through low BBGs, get them to CP, and as I'm getting to CP, if I feel like that playstyle is not going to be viable in-game, and then we get in-game and I just can't make it work, then it's not a video that goes up. But if it's a playstyle or a class that I have fun on, it's thematic, and I can make it work, it goes up to the website, or it goes up to YouTube so you guys can see it, and it's fun. But there are, out of the 120, there are many that don't make it. They just don't make the cut, and I don't want to put that out there into the world and somebody just struggle or not have fun in Battlegrounds. Really fun to play Hawkeye, not really fun to die all the time on them, you know? And so there's that. But at CP and above, you're going to run into Zons, you're going to run into Scoria, you're going to run into all this stuff, okay? And the additional pressure that's coming from monster sets and gear, the proc damage, is the next layer of pressure that you have to deal with. So if you're not good at maintaining your hots or not good at maintaining your heals, you know, especially through low BBGs, it will only get worse when you hit CP. Now, I know a lot of people will already have CP characters and they're trying to learn how to get better on that. And they're like, well, what do I do? You know, I'm already there. I didn't know this. Nobody told me this, and I'm already there. And I step into a BG and it's laggy. I can't break free. Performance is terrible. And I'm getting, you know, cheesed down by everything. What do I do? My answer is you create a low B and you dial things back a little bit, okay? And in the gym industry, which is, you know, what I do outside of ESO, but in the gym industry, fundamentals or basics make fights. You need to get the fundamentals, or you need to get the basics down before you can be really good in fight. You know, and so go back. Dial everything back, go back to the basics, go back to the fundamentals, get into low BBGs, re-roll your same class, you know, jump into low BBGs and start practicing these things, because you're not getting the breathing room. It would be like in the gym industry, let's say you want to do jiu-jitsu and you walk in day one and they just keep throwing you in with black belts and you just keep getting subbed every 3 seconds by things you've never even seen before, don't even see coming, have no idea how to defend, or you have no idea how to escape, and you're literally just getting handed around by all the black belts, you know? And that's the scenario. If you're trying to learn this stuff and try and get better at this, and you're just getting thrown in there with a bunch of people that have already been there, plus they're wearing all these proc sets and all that extra pressure, it's not it's not an atmosphere that is conducive of learning. Okay, so low BBGs are where it's at. Dial it back, focus on the fundamentals, and to sum everything up, though, the answer is don't block. You block the burst when you know the burst is coming, but the rest of the time you should be doing all these other things. So everybody be safe out there. Thanks.